happening, or maybe we'll. Yes, we're also recording it, as you know. But maybe we'll give. Yeah, I think I would just say just a basic introduction to our guests and. Wonderful. Yeah. Tomáši, slyšíme se?
Ano, slyšíme.
A oni si mají něco nastavit, oni nemusí nic. Ten základní jazyk je angličtina, takže oni nemusí nic nastavovat.
Ano.
Výborně, skvěle. Tak jo, tak já bych vás tady rád všechny přivítal za tým multidisciplinarity. Tady já, Tomáš Volček, Maria Motiková, Zuzka Lorenčíková a další. Je tady náš gestor Johan Pfeiffer. Toho, myslím, nemusím představovat. Věřím, že jste si přečetli anotaci. Dneska budeme mluvit. Dneska se nám ohlásí naši partneři z Hertfordshireu, kteří nám poví o projektu Host Families. Možná jste o něčem takovém již slyšeli. Jsem zaslechl, že někdo již něco takového plánuje, tak doufám, že o tom později pohovoříme. Věc takovou formální, kterou musím říct na začátek, je, že webinář nevyjadřuje oficiální stanovisko Ministerstva zdravotnictví, ale představuje prostor pro diskuzi a sdílení zkušeností a názorů odborníků v rámci systému péče o duševní zdraví, jakousi platformu pro otevřené sdílení informací, zkušeností, názorů odborníků v rámci systému péče o duševní zdraví. Tak to je tak, doufám, že to použijeme. Bude tady vlastně dneska bude mluvit nejenom ředitelka tohoto projektu Nosheen, ale i další z manažérů, Charles, a potom budeme tady mít i některé právě přímo rodiny a hosty, jak jim říkají, kteří vlastně tady to použili, takže doufám, že je tady dost toho, co můžeme probrat a už to nechci příliš zdržovat, možná bych poprosil ještě, než dáme slovo do Anglie, i o nějaké možná kratičké slovo Johana a potom vás poprosím, abyste si přepli tady, jak je dole to tlačítko interpretace, ještě tedy ne, ale za chviličku tady dole, abyste to přepli Tome, říkám to dobře, na angličtinu?
Na češtinu, jestli
na češtinu, dobře,
česky, jak
je dole to tlačítko interpretace, tak to si přepněte prosím na češtinu, ale ještě předtím, mám to ještě připomenu, ještě předtím bych poprosil Johana o kratičké slovo a začneme. Děkuji.
Díky moc za tu přípravu a díky moc anglickým kolegům, že s náma budou sdílet ten jako velmi specifický, velmi lidský a velmi inovativní přístup, který by měl být součástí nebo mohl být součástí toho celého systému vlastně akutní a krizové péče. To je něco, co aktuálně promýšlíme a je důležité nastavit tak, aby opravdu ty vlastně zdroje v komunitě byly podporovaný maximálně, včetně takového modelu, aby vlastně ta lůžková péče byla skutečně posledním řešením a mluvím o tom, že to musí být nějaký komplexní systém, koordinovaný, který by měl mít prvky mobilní péče, ale právě i takovýchhle různých alternativ pobytu, jako je třeba to, o čem teďka budeme slyšet. Takže já už víc nebudu povídat. Doufám, že se nám povede teda dál ještě najít další kolegy, kteří by nám mohli specifikovat ty další prvky té krizové péče. A už jsme měli vlastně nějakou 1 nebo 2 setkání, které se toho týkaly, takže doufám, že pak budete mít k možnosti takový komplexní pohled, který na těch stránkách bude k dispozici. Tak jo, děkuji, že jste se přihlásili a myslím, že to bude velmi, velmi inspirativní.
Tak jo, tak moc děkuji. A teď tedy máme přepnout, tedy všichni přepneme na češtinu.
Na češtinu, přesně tak. Kdo si třeba už teď v průběhu toho, co Johan mluvil, vyzkoušel do angličtiny přepnout, tak v angličtině už běželo tlumočení právě.
Dobře, tak jo, tak snad to bude v pořádku. A já tady si taky přepnu na češtinu a můžu ale dál hovořit s oběma stranami, vidíte?
Myslím, že byste si to měl nechat Tome vypnout.
Dobře, já si to nechám tak, jak to mám. Wonderful. So I think, Nosheen, it was just a short introduction. We just a few things. We're all excited about what you have to say. So I hope everybody is now switching to their channel, so they'll be able to understand. And would you like to say something before we'll put the presentation on the screen?
Yes, so I'd just like to start off with the introduction. So if Charles can do that, the welcome and introduction from our part, that would be helpful.
Okay, so I'll start. Thank you so much for having us. And thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to showcase our host families scheme that we have here. So today we are going to explain or showcase to you where we started, where we are, and where we are going. And in the room, we've got representation from all the different angles of the host family scheme. So we do have our service users, one of our ex-service users who's used the host families before. We do have the hosts, those are the people that will be looking after the patients in the community at home. We've got representation from the crisis teams, so who are the people that assess and also be helping the host to look after the patient from home. And we also have got Nosheen, who's got more than I think 8 or 9 years experience of being part of the host families from the time it started to where we are. We are really happy that this year in November, or this November, we've now managed, it's our 10-year anniversary, and we are still going strong. So thank you so much for having us, and I'll hand you over to Nosheen to start the presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So, and so Nosheen, do you just now want us to put up the presentation?
Yes.
You would like to start?
Yes, please.
So, můžu tě poprosit, Mário?
Určitě.
Děkuju.
Can you see it? Is it okay?
Ano, vidíme to vidíme teď nějaký, já nevím, slide číslo několik, tak jenom to dáte si od začátku. Děkuju moc.
Thomas, can it be slide 3?
No.
It should be like, well, I see slide number 1, but...
Okay, you can start from number 1.
My vidíme ne
jedničku. Okay, I'll start to do it again. Just a second. Okay, so this is the slide number 1. So
yes.
Let's just start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will work.
That's fine. If you, I mean, we can get to number 3 because Charles did the opening already. So if you skip to 2 and then get to 3.
Okay.
We'll shoot
this one.
So if you just do next.
Yep, I currently see the slide number 3, but I'm not sure whether the connection is fast enough. Like you can see it in the same time.
Yes, we still see slide number 1.
How's that possible? Like,
that's okay. If there is anything, I can also share it. It's no problem.
Okay, like right now.
Now we have slide number 3. Now we have slide number 3.
Okay, so it's just like, whoa.
No, thank you
I
very
stopped
much.
sharing right now.
Okay, so what is a host family? Any family who can offer support, adult age, in a friendly home environment as an alternative to hospital admission or to facilitate early discharge, supported by the mental health professionals. And if you're able to play the link, they can see an overview. Is that possible, Thomas?
Tady je, Mario, tady tenhle link, že bychom se podívali na to video, možná to udělám já.
Yep, you can try it. Like it will be possible, but I'm not sure whether you could hear it really. So maybe if you could do this, Tom, would be great. So I'll stop sharing the screen and you can do that.
Yes, I think because I think we won't be able to necessarily hear it, but we can play it. Is that okay anyway, Nosheen?
Yeah, that's fine. There's subtitles on it anyway, in English.
Okay.
Just so you get a flavor of what host families do in action.
So I will share the screen now. This one. You can see it, right?
Yes, subtitles.
Yeah.
Stay for a few weeks.
That's fine, Thomas. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
So slide 4 will be meet the host families. So we currently have 5 host families in Hertfordshire, and those that are present today will introduce themselves. Would you like to introduce yourself? Introduction.
Hello, everyone.
Can you tell us if you can't hear?
Yes, we can hear a little bit. Thank you, Maria, for putting that down now. Thank you. Yes, we can hear you. Please carry on.
Hello, everybody. You can address me as Dixie. Great to become as a host family around 4 years' time.
Joe, introduction.
I'm Joe, and I'm a retired NHS employee, and I have been become a host family since 2017, and I enjoy the challenge of the work that we have done very much as a host family.
Thank you, Sheila.
I'm Sheila from the Old West team, and I've been hosting since 2020.
And we do have guest representation here as well, so I'll let you just introduce you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Harmy, and I'm a service user, and I stayed with the host family, Joe and Dixie, there last year since approximately for 4 to 5 weeks. I was with them.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
And we do have, we might as well do introductions now. Yeah. So we have the clinical, as Charles mentioned, we have the clinical representation who are our key players in placing service users or guests with our host families. So I'd just like them to introduce themselves so you know who's here as well.
So I'm Aya. I'm one of the team leaders, and I've been with this team for over 10 years. We started the host family in Hertfordshire.
And my name is Nancy. I'm one of the psychiatric nurses. I'm also the host champion for our team.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
So the PowerPoint can go back up if you're
We can put back the presentation. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So it would be the key aims, Thomas. So it'd be the next slide.
Yes, next slide.
I'm going to go with the flow, and then you guys can just adjust accordingly. So the key aims are based on the recovery model. It's a person-centered holistic service, provides independence, a choice being least restrictive compared to hospital stay in a safe environment with all therapeutic means provided by the crisis teams in the community. It is a cost saving, and an example will be shown later in the presentation. Okay, so we're on slide 6 now, just for information.
I'm just a second. Maria, is it? I can maybe try to share it. Maybe there is some just a little problem, so there's no problem.
Yeah, maybe you can do
yes,
that.
I'm so sorry. I'll do it.
No worries. Would be great if it were.
Yeah. So please just take it down, please. Thank you. And now I will do it. So
thank you.
So this was.
So now it's slide 6, Thomas.
So we have slide this and now slide 6. Right?
Yes, thank you.
So please carry on. Thank you.
Perfect. So the next slide after this now. So how we started, are you able to get the next one on?
Yes. This one, benefits?
No, the preliminaries, number 6.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so how we started was when colleagues visited Lille and gained support in developing the Hertfordshire model. A lady called Madame Lombard, my predecessors, visited France, and we also invited her here in 2010. The legislation and things are naturally very different in different countries and different areas. So therefore it was set up just based on that model, and then we developed it further according to our area. Working with key stakeholders such as guests, i.e. service users, carers, clinicians, and learning from similar schemes. We have monthly steering groups also that take place. We've recruited 3 host families to start off with in an area called Stevenage. That was our pilot area. One of those hosts is still present for the last 10 years, so that's a bonus. We've also built confidence of local clinicians by positively keeping the channels of communication transparent at various forums. It's an ongoing thing, and we use the same cycle of communication due to staff changes and new ways of working, especially in the current climate. Yeah, next. Thank you. So the benefits, service users, I mean, Harmeet will be able to touch on this later on when it's his part, but they do get, a choice, and it's less institutional, well, it's completely non-institutional, not less. Very supportive, safe environment in the community, supported by our experts, mental health professionals. It does, without us realizing, it reduces stigma. It reduces the length of stay for an individual. It's very well good balance between at their own home, and also in a host family, just with that extra support. We've received positive feedback. As I've mentioned before, it is cost effective, and it enables people to develop tools and strategies regarding their own care plan, well-being, and anything ongoing. We do have a therapeutic team now involving psychologists, occupational therapists, and other, which Aya can touch on later on in the presentation. It's also very respectful. It promotes self-management and determination. It is working in partnership. It takes a broad and responsive approach. We also have things like debt, housing, employment, medication. It's a wide range of community support. Promotes optimism and hope, person-centered, as I mentioned earlier. And again, it's very collaborative and less intrusive, as it would be while you're in a hospital ward. And it takes that independence as well into consideration, which usually the feedback from our service users is, number one, that we tend to be like we are in our own home environment. So all that less institutionalization that cuts that out. So the initial challenges that we did face, promoting the scheme to clinicians, because naturally they had a lot of risk questions and alarm bells were raised, keeping the topic open on agendas for clinical decision making, the length of time in arranging a placement, placing a guest who might have severe personality disorder, because that impacted the host families. So we did trial that out at the beginning. Host families not getting urgent police attention when required because of the unknown service, and limited evaluation because our focus was on the trial and pilot at the time and making sure we get things put in practical side. How we overcame that, we have a dedicated host families manager. We have a team, a crisis team, and we always have 5 crisis teams across the trust, but we have really good host family champions. And Nancy, who's my lead here in the Northwest Crisis team, is present. And it really wouldn't have worked without her, to be quite honest. So we're really pleased to have Nancy as our lead champion. It's crucial to have that in all the crisis teams to run it more smoothly when the placements are there. We've reduced some of the placement stages. So for example, before we had a guest visiting a home to go to first, they are still given that choice if they want, but we tend to bypass some of the placement stages, and that's one of them, just as an example. We've stopped placing people with severe personality disorder, as I mentioned. The host type under the police registration. So the police, if there's an emergency, the police know what a host family is. And it bypasses a lot of those questions of who are you, where are you, we can't attend this home address for whatever reasons. And once we were confident with the placements, the evaluation became more robust and it meets the need of reporting. So the key considerations, yes, you have to ensure you obtain executive support. You do need to commit time and resource to manage the project, involve the key stakeholders right from the beginning, and investing time to build confidence. All this does take a good amount of time and resource, so that's quite crucial to ensure we meet all the needs of the project. So I know you were keen on processes, so I'll try and go through each one of them and explain them. So we began with internal communication, including inpatient wards, consultants, community teams, crisis teams, and others alike. Then we developed the policy, liaised with safeguarding team, risk team, legal team, finance teams, again, clinicians, consultants, the local authorities, service users were involved, carers were involved, and similar schemes that we were looking at that might be around the UK that we could also adopt some ideas, so they were involved too. So this led to external communication, which focused on recruitment via the radio, local newspapers and leaflet drops. Promotional stands, we did promotional stands in the malls and supermarkets, which is one of our best ways of recruitment that we found, as well as our newspaper and radio article. So that led to the recruitment stage. So we do an initial home visit when an interest is shown by somebody at one of these places or stands, or we get phone calls, then it is the initial home visit. We check the environment, what the home is like, if it's correct to be a host family, because we have certain standards that we have to adhere to according to our trust policies. Then there's a formal application which consists of three references, a GP report, police and social services checks as well. So that's through our local authority. After recruitment, we induct the host families. So that's a day of information. We invite different speakers from all areas, things like confidentiality, boundaries, recovery approach, safeguarding, the role of host family, working in partnership with the crisis teams and others, and the host family support. So that's our induction process. And then the contract, it takes us to that, which is the agreement between all three parties, agreement of how we are going to take the placement forward, the training commitments, obligation of host families to attend any meetings upon request, appropriate insurance cover and payment on a placement by placement basis. So it's a wide range. And finally, the support for host families is usually during placement times. They have, I would say they have quite a significant amount. They have myself and Charles, they have the crisis nurses and the team, they have the host champions from each team who I said lead the clinical side. And they have something called a peer supervision meeting, which is a bi-monthly meeting for them to share their experiences confidently and confidentially between themselves. And if anything that we can address as professionals, that's our opportunity to do so. So this is I don't know if all of you can see the numbers, but I do have the information here. So this is an example of the cost saving exercise. So if some of you can see this, between April 19 and March 2020, we had 6 host families with a total of 37 placements. So 23 guests were discharged from hospital and 14 went in as preventing the need for admission. So over 50% of the host family vacant days were used in this period. So in total, 819 days were used. If that was used as inpatient days, it would cost over 400,000. And the same amount that was used in a host family, it was just over 70,000. So you can see a significant difference in the total cost saving amount of over 300,000. So you can see quite a significant difference there. Can we have the next slide, please? Over to Aya now, our clinical expert.
So having listened to the cost savings, the idea behind the host family, we as clinicians, our options are to try and use the least restrictive method. And the host family has become one of them. So what we do is we try our level best to utilize the host family. So in that, what we do is when the person goes to the host family, we provide a comprehensive psychosocial assessment. We assess the guest or the service user when they are referred. So what we try to do is, in a simple note, we say, if this person can live in your house, then they are suitable for the host family. So if you can't take that person home, then you can't refer them to the host family. So that's the first thing. Then secondly is we try and look for safety. Okay, so if this person has any history, we try and go through the history, check properly and see. Because when they come into the host family, it's a short term, but with the new remodeling we've gone through, they can stay in the host family for up to 12 weeks. But we've had people stay beyond that. You know, it's not written in stone, you know, so we are flexible. Some people go there for 12 weeks, some people go there for 1 week, some people have been there for maybe a couple of days. So as a service, while they are within the host family, we assess their needs, we negotiate, and we can signpost them to other services, you see. So within the crisis team, we have our psychologists, we have our OTs, we have our social workers, psychiatrists, and nurses and support workers as well. So as a service, we have this comprehensive support. So who do we take? We take people either from inpatient unit to facilitate early discharge, or sometimes we stop people going into a hospital by providing them the host family support. However, sometimes some people can be at home while we are supporting them, but we realize that, oh, the home environment is not conducive. So we can temporarily move them to the host family, wherein we try to support the home environment. The home environment might be doing cleaning, deep cleaning, or other things. Or a family member is going away and they're not comfortable to leave that service user at home. So we can move that the guest into the host family. So these are some of the things we do provide. What's the next slide?
Next slide, please.
So,
can you read that there? What do you want there?
Can
you read that?
Yes, so, in terms of the crisis team role, I've already said, our role is to make sure a proper risk assessment is done, and we review that because, as you are aware, in mental health, the risk changes. So we make sure we review that. And when the guest is at the host family, we do a weekly review. We see them regularly, depending on their needs. And then we just try and make sure that that risk assessment is done and is updated. Also, before they come into the host family, we have to make sure there's an exit plan. So you check first. This person, has they got an exit plan? Have they got a suitable accommodation to go to? If the answer is yes, then that's a good. Sometimes the answer might be no. Then you say, okay, are there any systems or is there any process in place that is going to help this person to get an accommodation? If the answer is yes, then they are also suitable for the host family. If the answer is no, then it's also no, they can't go in there. So there's initial yes, then there's a no, but there's a process in place, okay? So if the host family is accepted, so let's say the service user or the guest is accepted to go to a host family, then what we normally do is we do the initial meeting wherein the host family and the guest or the service user will meet. They meet and greet. And when they meet and greet, it is possible they'll have common grounds, or the service user will say, no, I don't want to go there, or the guest will say, oh, no, I'm not comfortable. So if that initial meeting happens and both parties says, okay, they are happy with each other, then we move to the next stage. The next stage will be the service user will go to the host, and the crisis team will go in there and will do what is called a three-way care plan. In the three-way care plan is wherein the house rules will be explained to the guest and the expectation. Then the guest will also say what is their do's and what is their don'ts and what they normally do. For example, a service user will say, I'm a heavy smoker. then the guest will say, okay, that's fine, but you can't smoke in my house. You can smoke in the garden, or we can create you a venue where you can smoke. Some people will say, oh, I like to walk dogs. Then the person, they will make all those arrangements, okay? Then in that 3-way care plan also, we will do what is the tentative, the temporary exit date. In that, we'll try and make sure that everybody is clear. What are the plans, okay? So a mutual understanding will be done. And that is almost like a mini contract, which everybody has to stick onto. So between the guest and the host, they will have their contract in that 3-way meeting, and everything will be documented by the crisis team worker, typed, and a copy given to both parties, okay? Then after that meeting, the crisis team will arrange the number of contacts. Sometimes some people can be 7 contacts, sometimes it can be 2 to 3, depending. But the initial one, it will be a regular contact. And all host families, they are aware that they can always call the crisis team at any time for support or for any reference. Then after those have been, after that meeting, a host family review, as I said earlier, will be agreed upon. It's once a week, and that review can be independent. You can see the service users separately, or you see the host separately. Or sometimes both parties can say, oh, let's have it together. We have nothing to hide or nothing to do, you understand? So we give them the choice. So the host family can be done either jointly with the guest or the host, or you do them separately. If the staff members, the clinicians, observe something that both parties are not happy about, what we normally do is we do the host review, but we try and separate both parties. Then we try and see how we can resolve their indifferences. Okay. Now, when this guest goes in, we have certain documentation we do. So we review the risk, we give them a tool wherein they assess their well-being, how they are now in terms of their health and well-being. You know, it's called the short Warwick Edinburgh mental health well-being scale. So that is done at the beginning. Then on discharge, the same tool is used to evaluate how that person is at that point of discharge. Then we also give them having your say form to give an evaluation of the overall placement. That is going to, the host family will not see the review paper, will scan that and will send a copy to Nosheen. If there's anything the service user is not happy about in that placement, then what we normally do is we'll give a feedback to the project manager and the service manager. Then they will arrange a meeting with the host family to review that placement and see what lessons have been learned, how can we improve it, and what can we do to stop such happening again. So that's in a nutshell the role of the crisis team there. What's the next slide?
The next is
other specialist services.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's crisis function.
Yeah.
What about them?
So as you're aware, the mental health service, the secondary mental health services, we have other departments. So we have the older team. So they have a crisis function team. They look after the over 65, the functional part of the mental health services. So they are a specialist team, and they also do place elderly service users or guests into the host family. And now our trust is introducing that to our community eating disorders services. These services deal with people with eating disorders, and they are also going to start using the host family so that at least it's getting to a broader spectrum. We are looking at a broader spectrum of service users to utilize this service.
Yeah. Thank you, Aya. And we have just recently started, I had our first eating disorder guest placed, which has been, is the second week, and it's going incredibly well. So yeah, that's, we're all very positive about expanding our services to other teams as well, you know, as long as we make sure we manage the risks very well. So thank you, Aya, that was great. So now over to the host families, who will give you, oh, can you see this? So who will give you, Joan Dixie, are you okay sitting there? Yeah. So we'll start off with Sheila. Sheila, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello everyone.
Hello everyone, just, yeah.
So we're just taking.
Now we can see you.
Yes.
Hello. The personal reason why I wanted to become a host is that I wanted to be able to make a difference to someone's life by supporting and contributing to their recovery on a one-to-one basis, residential situations, people from all backgrounds. And being a host is a person that understands that people's recovery will have different levels and needs, and being able to accommodate those needs, whatever they may be. And having the invaluable support from the crisis team to the guests and myself enables us to do that.
Okay, so there was another host, I don't know if anyone can see me, there was another host family who was going to join us, but they send their apologies. So a couple of things they just wanted to add that I will just inform you guys. So they said to me, what they've learned from being a host family is that they now realize having a mental health problem covers various diagnoses in different areas, and that her family and friends have also learned and are definitely more understanding to do with mental health. So naturally, just as I said earlier, without us realizing, it reduces the stigma, which is great. So we target quite key points. And the support that she gets from the crisis team is there day and night, as Aya mentioned as well earlier. And if the service user or herself at all require immediate access, the crisis team are there on the other end of the phone. And she's also put here, I don't like to talk about myself, but she's also put here that I'm the other person who will help her and support her when the need arises. Yeah, over to Joe and Dixie now.
Thank you very much, Nosheen.
What the host family offer to the guests?
Okay. We should let our guests feel very welcome, make them comfortable, warm, safe, like their own home. Care, compassion, support, motivate is must. Good nutrition diet is essential for health, quick improvement, recovery. Food can affect people's mood, also can make people happy. Making life more meaningful and look forward in the future. Have a good health, can build back their confidence. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, the next 2-3 questions, and I got the last one I did it myself, but these two just come on to me. And what have you enjoyed being a host family? To me, being a host family, I do really enjoy it because it's quite challenging as well.
Yes.
And you know, it can be good and bad, but it's you know, I mean, being a host family, a kind of it's a nice thing to do, to see them recover. And when they first came in, it was different from the time, and then eventually they left us. We can see the improvement. I don't want to go to the other question. Is
Joe, do you want me to ask you?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay. So what have you enjoyed?
Yeah, I do. You know, what have I enjoyed being a host family? I do to get to meet them, because each service user is so different. They have different types of illnesses, from depression to schizophrenia and all this kind of background. And we do make friends along the course, being a host family. Plus what I just mentioned about from the time they came into us up to the end, and we see the progress they have made. That was really enjoyable.
And what have been your challenges?
My challenges are kind of you tend to see some service user maybe making things difficult for the host family, and to us we encounter very few, and as a difficult, you know, to challenge to get to, you know, you want to keep your service users safe as well, and that's also difficult things to do as well. And it's not, I mean, difficulties, things are, you know, whatever we have, we do have a kind of support network. We got cut team to approach. We have a psychiatrist. We got other like psychologists, and we can, you know, they even have a day center, and sometimes we can get advice from them.
So can you tell us a time where you saw a guest make improvement and achieved a significant step in their recovery?
Yes, I noticed my guests, once they recover, and they become more relaxed and be able to communicate more, and significant recovery will put a smile on their face, and also show happiness in both their body language and gesture to us. We can notice that visibly, quite appearance. The other things are that their diet improve and beginning to show sign of putting on a little bit of weight, and you know, color on your face.
Growing.
Yeah, they're quite glowing.
Growing.
Yeah, they also show kind of you know, positive attitudes, able to put forward their plan for the future. And that's one thing we see when they first came in, they don't have that. They lost their confidence and their motivation and low self-esteem. But now they improve, significant improvement, make that significantly apparent to us. That's visible. And they also show a lot of appreciation and thankfulness to the host family. And for their achievement during their stay with us. And we feel as a host family is a sense of being able to do this kind of thing, being able to kind of a sense of achievement for the effort that we have done, and also, you know, for the guests themselves.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I know I've got a few quotes from previous guests that have been placed with host families over the years. But today we do have one guest who is willing to attend and very kindly share his experience with yourselves. So Harmeet, over to you.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Harmeet and I'm a working professional. And last year I had a major breakdown, mental health breakdown, then tried to end my life and got sectioned, spent some time in the hospital. And I spent good 3 months in the hospital and, to be honest, getting some support or help. But then there was a plan for me to go home where I didn't feel comfortable, that I'm ready to go home, I need some more time and support. So does my wife. We got 3 children in the house, and so we raised our concerns to the management there, and then we were told about the host family scheme, which to me completely sounded like a very alienated, never heard about that, because while during my stay at different hospitals, I moved around, but I never knew what host family is, so I was quite anxious, and I was worried, like, how can I adjust in somebody's house, about their space? And what about my cultural needs, my religious needs, my dietary and my medical issues? And I mean, there were thousands of questions in my head, and I couldn't even sleep the night before. And then I was told, like, I got a meeting, which was 3-way meeting. So the mental health team came, host family came, Joe and Dixie, and it was a very relaxed environment. And we had a quick chat and discussion where I raised my questions and concerns. They were quite welcoming and supportive. And so I feel very confident. And in the end, we all agreed that yes, so within a few days, I'll be moving with them. And then I was still quite concerned, like how things will be, as you can understand, being from such a hospital environment where things were very regimental, time of medicine, what time you leave your room, what you can do, what you can't do. And especially being the COVID, so you can't see your family, it was quite a lot going on. But then when I arrived at the host family, it was quite good arrangement. The crisis team was already there, who was informed that my arrival is at this time. Host family was there, and then we had a very nice welcome and kind of a setup for me. Very informal, but very structured. Structure was there. And then on the very first day, as you can see, my anxiety was really high. So the crisis team was quite decent to kind of lead me at my pace, but still make sure like I'm safe enough, my needs are looked after, have I eaten, have I taken my medicine? And they agreed to see me the following day, basically. And then we had a meeting, as I already mentioned, like 3-way meeting, and we gone through the house rules, and I shared my concerns, like if you're happy for me to get up at certain time, I would like to listen to my prayers, and if any issues with that, and I eat, like, basically I eat, but I'm a non-smoker, non-drinker, so that's not a problem. But all the other things we all discussed, and issues and concern, as you can imagine in my head, how's things going to be, but it was quite welcoming and quite nice. And then I was given the support of the crisis team, like, even though I'm staying in a house, but the support is just like a phone call away for me. It's not that I am with the host families, their responsibility, but they got backup support also. And as you can understand, there have to be some challenges. Nothing can go as planned and as you imagine. So we have some, obviously, difficulties, like some decisions were made without me getting involved by the crisis team and the doctors. So I had a bit small breakdown or some concerns, but host family contacted the crisis team, and immediately 2 members, even A himself, arrived, and I was having a proper breakdown. Then we have listened, we talked, we discussed, and we came up with a quite broader plan and the support plan, which included to extend my stay a bit. Rather than just being a very restrictive, they made me with comfort, like, don't worry about that. You will only leave once you are happy and confident, because my wife had quite a lot of concerns, not about my safety, but like, what if I come home and if I have a relapse again? We got 3 children, about their trauma, my wife, and everything has to start again. So then crisis team allowed, like, my wife can come and visit me and see me how I'm progressing, how I'm getting back in the community, and then I can be discharged. So that gave me a lot of support. Then I was introduced to the like occupational therapists, psychologists, and other people who can come and support people like Nancy, and there are other people, sorry, I don't remember their name right now. They were involved. I even spoke to Nosheen also regarding the admin side and managerial side, like if I got any concerns, how they can be looked after. And that host family was absolutely fantastic because they didn't put regimental rules on me. Like Dixie was very much like quite nutritious conscious, who made sure like I get proper nutrition diets like breakfast, lunch and dinner according to my dietary needs. And she introduced me to some different foods, different healthy options rather than just kind of processed food, which when you have a mental health concerns or breakdown, you become a comfort eater. And being Joe's experience, as he said, for like 30, 35 years of mental health helped me. So not only have crisis team support, I have a host family support, kind of like talk to them, discuss with them, and kind of just offload sometimes what I'm feeling, how I'm going through. And then they slowly introduced me back to the society because I didn't want to even leave my room. And they took me to the shops, they took me to the town ones, they took me to the local parks so that I can slowly get some confidence. Then as it's COVID, I had COVID symptoms, which became very difficult because I have to isolate in my room. So then Joe and Dixie became like a bridge between myself and the crisis team. And they were like helping me to go and collect my prescriptions, if any emergency support, a crisis team, because obviously they couldn't see me in person, but they were doing telephone assessments with me and my GP was spoken, so it was worked out by good plan. And then my wife was allowed to come and meet me for a couple of times. And in the end, things worked that well, and she had confidence that I still had a few days given to me by the crisis team, but we personally agreed that I would like to leave a little early. And I actually made a decision and we all discussed, and a very amazing handover was done again. So because that was another worry for me, like once I leave from here, where do I stand? Where do I go? But then crisis team made sure to hand over to my local Stevenage, Hertfordshire team, proper handover. Where do I stand? What medication I'm on? What are my diagnoses? And what ongoing support I need? So that I can literally it's like just the physically location was changed, but the support remains the same. And since last year, I left home in November, and touch wood, I am gone back to work in January, and I'm back to my usual hours, full duties, and with my wife, kids, and everything, touch wood, with God's blessings. I'm here today to share my experience. So thank you to all these people here. I'm here today, safe and man alive, and talking with this confidence, with a smile, because it wouldn't be possible without these all there.
Oh,
so
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
No, can I ask if you could just say from your perspective about this? Yeah. Right, we're almost there with we'll go into Q&A in a minute. We'll go into Q&A in a minute, but Thomas, I just want Nancy, being the pivotal of our crisis team lead, to just say a couple of words about what she thinks and of the scheme and her role as the host family champion. So over to you, Nancy.
You probably covered it, I'm sure. I apologize, I stepped out for a meeting. So I think being the host champion for our team, it's quite informative because I feel like I am the link, if you like, between the teams, the hospital, the service users, and as well with the hosts themselves. So sometimes people come to me and kind of, ask to say, what do you think about this referral? What do you think about this service user coming into the host? And having that relationship with the hosts themselves is quite helpful because there's certain service users that, you'll meet and they'll be referred to you, and, straight away I'll think, actually, Sheila will be good with this service user, or usually most of the time, all of them are good with that particular, but you always kind of think, let's take them to this person because they'll have that kind of extra touch or whatever. But I think from a clinical perspective, the host has been fantastic, because you do have people that are, that can become really unwell, but they're really unwell, but they just need that kind of nurturing kind of comfort place, because the hospitals can be quite a distressing place. Sometimes it's chaotic, it's noisy because other people are really unwell, but actually our role comes in when we're going to assess the person and say, actually, could this person be supported by the host family? And just having that home environment where it's a peaceful, it's a calm place, you feel like you're in a home environment, but you're having that benefit of having the nurses coming to see you or the doctors coming to see you and to see how things are going. And it's also a way of, if someone's been in hospital, it's a way of slowly getting them to adjust to being back at home in a home environment, so that by the time they get to their own home, they're feeling much safer, they're feeling more confident to do that. So it just feels like it's having the best of all worlds, really, that I am being treated, but I'm not in a hospital environment, because it can be quite daunting. So yeah, I do feel it's a very good scheme, which I'm very proud to be a part of. And yeah, Nosheen does give me a lot of credit. But I do enjoy it. I do enjoy it very much. And even with my team leaders, when they've got something host comes up, like Nancy. So I feel like I'm kind of like the go-to person. But I still learn every day. But it's definitely a scheme that I would encourage you guys, everyone really, to be a part of, because mental health is becoming more, it's becoming more wider. People are much more aware of mental illnesses, and they come in different shades and sizes and, extremities. So it's really good to have, and especially the fact that, unfortunately or sadly, there's not a lot of hospital beds. We haven't got availability of everyone, or who's needing to be in hospital to have that facility. But to have the host family, where we then step in as a crisis team and say, let's place this person in this home, we will treat them, so that they're not missing out on having treatment, So it's a very good scheme that I'm proud to be a part of again. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. So that was a great way to end that show. So over to yourselves with Q&A, Thomas.
Yes, thank you very much. It was really inspiring, it was fantastic. Thank you very much. Tak já nevím teď, jestli mě slyšíte, když tady mluvím česky, teď si nejsem jist, doufám, že ano, tak myslím, že to bylo opravdu skvělá prezentace, mě přišla moc zajímavá a chtěl jsem se to, jestli budete mít nějaké, určitě máte nějaké otázky, tak se jenom nebojte je říci, pokud můžete říct česky a tlumočníci je přetlumočí, jinak pokud můžete třeba i možná napsat do chatu, my je můžeme přednést, tak teď je místo na otázky. Tak paní Ivana Svobodová, prosím.
Dobrý den, moc děkuju. Děkuju taky za to představení, protože opravdu je to hodně inspirující, hodně zajímavá zkušenost další. A já jsem se jenom chtěla zeptat, nevím, jestli mi to neuniklo, vlastně jaká je motivace těch rodin, těch hostujících rodin, které se do toho zapojují. Co tak jako nejčastěji vlastně, proč se do toho jako vůbec zapojí?
Mm-hmm.
Děkuju.
Motivace teda, jaká je? To je ta hlavní otázka.
Přesně tak.
Mm-hmm. So, now Nosheen, I'm not sure, did you hear the question in English?
No, I didn't. No.
That's no problem. That's all. Just the question was, what do you think would be the main motivation? She says, I apologize, maybe I misheard, but what would you say overall is the main motivation for people to join? Why would they join the project in the first place, maybe? And yeah.
So, host family, what was your motivation to join? What motivated you to be a host family?
Personally, it's amazing to be part of it, to contribute and to support someone on their road to recovery. obviously with the fantastic and valuable help of the crisis team, but to be able to be part of that is amazing, and especially on a one-to-one basis in a resident, in your home. It's amazing to see the recovery. And getting to know the people is lovely. I love it.
Well, the thing that motivates us to do it, especially me, and I used to work in the psychiatric service for the last 30 odd years. And what I did is an inpatient in hospital. I didn't see what's going on much in the community. So I thought I'd love to see a patient go into the hospital setting, and then eventually, they move out in the community, and then they get help and support in the community, how they get on. So the way I look at it, let's see how they work in the community, and actually, impressed me a lot. And being a host family, not just the cat team in the community, plus the community like a host family, and how we carry out and things like that. And I because of this sort of thing, I sort of not just looking at their progress, what I see, and how they go from the time they stay up to the time they go. And it's a great sense of achievement when you see them improve so much. And when I compare with how they improve within the hospital, and I got both sides of the experience, I find community setting much relaxed. And you can have one-to-one. Being a host family, we work, Dixie is my wife, and we work in husband and wife team, and we do 24/7. And they get the maximum support from two of us.
Yeah,
Yes.
just to add to that, Thomas.
Yes, thank you. Because please do add. I just one thing I have in my mind is that maybe the question was partially as well, like, what is the original motivation? Because when you see the recovery, obviously Joe and Dixie, maybe they have some of their own experience from from before, but that's obviously a fantastic motivation. But before you know that, before you see that, it's just some of my thoughts. And please continue, Nosheen.
Okay, so when we were recruiting host families, the main reason people were interested, they all had a caring aspect to their personalities. So they were wanting to go and help, look for some sort of a caring and helping kind of a scheme or something they could join or network. It could have been our service, it could have been a charity or other. So the main thing, they had a lot of free time, the people that approached us. A lot of our host families are retired, others are still at non-retirement age, and it just suits their lifestyle because it's very flexible. They're not always available. It's very flexible in the sense that if they want to go on holiday, they can say to me, Nosheen, we need to block this particular month out and we won't be around. So they'll go off and do their own thing. Or perhaps somebody's got a part-time job and during that period, they won't be hosting. So it depends on individual needs, but a lot of my host families are of a certain age group. We don't recruit anyone with children under the age of 18. We don't recruit anyone who's in full-time employment, and they must have a spare bedroom, of course. So there are quick fix points, if you like, for recruitment, flashcards, that these are the crucial things. So therefore, and obviously the added bonus of the reward that they get at the end of it, I mean, there is some money at the end of that. So all host families are paid. This isn't a free service during host placement time only, though, not during the gap times. Yeah.
Thank you. Wonderful. Tak skvělý, moc děkuji za otázku. Doufám, že jsme odpověděli. Viděl jsem palec nahoru, tak to je skvělé. A dám prostor další otázce. Jistě. Yeah, já myslím, že I'm sure there will be some more questions. It's just like just to, you know, let it make it move. You know, it's always a little bit shy. Tak, určitě nějaká další otázka. Jo, tady, jistě. There is another question I will ask. It says, hello, I'm sorry if I missed it again in your presentation, but I was wondering if the stay within the host family is always is a follow-up to inpatient, you know, stay, or does it work as an alternative? That there is no like inpatient stay at all. Thank you, Maha.
It's both. Some people go to the host family, they've never been in the hospital, they've never been in a psychiatric hospital. So the host family is an alternative, and sometimes it's a respite place, a respite home for our service users. So it's not like a step down. We use it as a step down, we use it as a respite, we use it as an alternative. So it's just another placement wherein service users can go away from their environment for treatment. It's also a step down from the acute inpatient if the home environment is not conducive. Also, it's a place wherein service users can go to introduce them gradually into the community. So it works, how can you say it? It's like a mobile. It's changing, it changes. So depending on the circumstances.
Yeah, so it's very individual, need by need basis. Some people don't need admission at all, as Aya said. Others do require admission. They might be in hospital for a number of weeks, perhaps 2 months. And sometimes it's to facilitate the early discharge part, where the crisis teams come in, they do support the service user in the host family as like a stop, a bridge in between hospital, their home environment as well. So it's definitely both of them. But again, it's very individually risk assessed and whether the needs are suited for that purpose.
Thank you very much. Tak děkuji, tak doufám, že jsme odpověděli panu Máchovi, že to jde více způsoby. Tak. There's another question. Just a second. Wonderful. So there is another question from Mrs. Ivana Hruba, and she's saying that maybe I didn't hear all of that, or maybe I just missed it. But how long does it take to prepare a host family to be one, right? How are they supervised? So everything is like under all the quality. Who is the one in charge to prepare the families, you know, for their task? Who is their guide? How big is the team around, you know, the host families? Are there any mentors, or there is some kind of coordinator? What is the scale of, you know, the family involvement in the terms of like maybe some kind of a city or a county? You know, what kind of area is it for one of those families? Thank you, Mrs. Ivana Hruba.
Okay, thank you. There's many questions, so I'll try and break it down with the support of my colleagues here. So first of all, the length of time to recruit somebody. If I'm out in the community, somebody might show interest after a couple of weeks, a couple of days. It depends on that individual when they decide to make that phone call or send me an email, which we have on all the information on our leaflets. So it depends on that. Once I get that first phone call, within that week, I try and do an initial visit so we can have the opportunity to see their home environment, speak to them in their home environment, and have that and check. And we do actually get up and ask them, do they mind if we just go see, because we want to know where which bedroom or which kitchen or which living room our guest will be placed or using, and to make sure there's no like frail electronics or wires lying around, to make sure the safety part is there as well, to assess the environment. They get an opportunity to ask us questions and vice versa. After that initial visit, if they're interested, I leave them with an application form. Oh, and I do take one of my clinical colleagues with me, so they might have any other questions that they'd like to ask them or address. And once that application is completed and sent to me, the same day it comes my way, it all depends on individuals. The same day it comes my way, it goes to our recruitment department, HR, which we call here, human resources. And that tends to take about, it used to be 3 months. We have now kind of cut it down to about 2 months, because you have to come back with 3 references, a GP report, social services checks, and also any kind of criminal record, which we call the DBS here. So all that in a nutshell, if you maximize it out from that initial contact of interest to the recruitment of the host family, I would say 3 months. When we first started, it took more than 3 months because we were still learning. It was a new project for us. We were trying to make sure we had every single area marked as well as we can. But now we're much better at it, and I would expect so 10 years later. So within 2 months, we try and get all that suited and settled. After that, we have something called the induction day. Once all the paperwork's come through, we're happy with everything, we'll go back and have another visit with the host family, and then we invite them to an induction day where we have these professional from different departments, speakers, expertise in their area. So the crisis team might come and they might explain, this is what the crisis team do, the role of our team, how it operates. The similar, we'll have safeguarding, we'll have confidentiality, we'll have the finance team, we'll have legal area. We might even invite other host families who have been doing it for a few years, so they can have an opportunity to ask the person who's been doing it for, you hear it from the horse's mouth. So once that induction's over, then the placements can start. Once they tell us their availability, the placements can begin. But again, it depends on if we get the appropriate referrals, because as Aya said earlier, we do risk assess quite thoroughly, and we need to ensure we don't say yes without making sure we've met certain criteria. So they might be waiting for a few weeks, a few days. Everything is very individual. It depends on the situation, the time, the type of person, the background, all sorts. So in that sense, it's a little bit hard to put an exact time on it, but that just gives you a bit of a flavour of the kind of process and length of time. We don't, it's important to say we don't train host families, because we need to ensure boundaries and we need to maintain, they're all professionals, we are all professionals here, but we need to make sure the crisis team are the mental health professionals, they're the clinical team, and we just don't want the host families to dip into that. I know Joe is a retired mental health nurse, and sometimes the challenges that we can have, positive challenges, but then he obviously naturally, if you've been a nurse for 20, 30, 40 years, you're going to wear the nurse hat. You just naturalize into that. So it's that challenge of making sure they're a host family, they're not clinicians in this role. So therefore we avoid the training aspect. But if they need any information regarding diagnosis, regarding any other matter to do with the placement or to do with host families, we do provide that on the basis. But we don't have anything. If your colleague was asking particular training, it's just the induction day, and that is a day full of information. And all the other questions I've forgotten, so you can answer them because you have quite a few in that one.
Yes, no, I hope we've covered it, and Mrs. Hruba, she adds some more questions. So, okay. So thank you very, very much for this, and I will continue. If I will just read just a few more. She's asking how many families have joined during those years, 10 years. about, right? And how big is the area? Probably in terms of maybe not really square kilometers, I guess, but maybe how many people, you know, live in the area. And what is there any percentage of maybe families that wanted to join? If there's a percentage of families that maybe refuse the client, or how many you have, you know, in your disposal, if you like, to
so when
to accept the client.
Sure. So when we began the scheme,
and she's also saying it's very inspiring. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So when we began this 10 years ago, the trust aim, or our chief executive aim, was to have 12 host families. And we actually managed to recruit 11 host families over a couple of years, after we piloted one area with 3 host families. And that was just through our communication, as I said earlier, which we were marketing it and also targeting more host families, anyone who's interested to come through. So that's been our maximum number at the same time. However, along the years, people have moved on because they might have downgraded their property, so therefore we don't have a bedroom, or they don't have a bedroom, or perhaps their son or daughter have now returned home from university, so they'd require that space again. Or perhaps they've got a full-time job. So that's another thing, you know, sometimes people then go out and they realize there's a few gaps in between that might not suit their lifestyle. So therefore they want to go out and get a full-time job with a full-time income every week or every month, with something coming through to ensure, you know, they're covering their costs and expenses. In terms of how many have we had over the years altogether, we've had quite a good number. I'd probably say up to 30, but they're not working at the same time. So this is just in the total of 10 years, you know, various types and of host families, some of which have left us, like I said, for obvious reasons. So in terms of area population, good question.
More or less, we don't need
more or less 20, right? Okay, what I've got in front of me is just one town. This isn't Hertfordshire, this is one town. 26,783. That's just one town, and we have many towns in Hertfordshire. I'm here. It says Hertfordshire population in 21 is, I won't attempt to, I'll just tell you the numbers, 1240596. So
1.2 million.
What was that here? 2 million?
1.2 million. 1.2 million.
1.2 million.
I've got my mail
Wikipedia says 1.2 million, so we'll stay with that.
Let's say that as an average.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
And what was the other question? What was the other question, Thomas?
She wanted to know how many people refused.
Yes.
Have refused.
How many have refused?
How many host family refused clients? How many clients?
Okay, so I would say very few. I think usually it's the opposite. Host families are always keen to have guests in their home. It's the service users or guests that might turn around and meet them at the 3-way introduction meeting, because we do the introduction like in a mutual environment like this place, for example. And after they've met them, they might turn around and say, actually, we've changed our mind, or we don't think we're going to gel with this person. We won't get on with this person. And then they might ask for another host family to be introduced to. So I would say, I mean, Sheila, in your experience, have you rejected anyone?
Never.
So Sheila only started last March 2020. She worked throughout last year, and she's saying she's never rejected a client.
And I mean, I've rejected you.
Sorry?
I mean, I've rejected you.
I've never been rejected, but two haven't come for various reasons, but not through rejection, I believe. That wasn't the feedback here.
Just that question. You've never been rejected and you have not rejected.
Okay, and Joe and Dixie, I mean, you guys have been hosting for a number of years, and I know, have you ever rejected anyone?
Not as far as we know.
Yeah, I don't think you have either.
No.
No. So it just, and also obviously we go back separately and give the host and the guest an opportunity to think about it, because it's quite a major thing for both parties, especially the guests who are suffering with mental health problems. And it's a new person, new environment, sometimes a new area. So they have to consider quite a lot of things and not just jump into, yes, I'll go to host family because it's under the National Health Service. You know, they do have to live with people. So is that all right?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, it is. Thank you. Tak dávám prostor, pokud se chcete sami zeptat.
About matching people who are stalks and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, I'll add that.
And there is one more question from Mrs. Svobodova. Yeah. Are you there? Yes?
Yes.
Fantastic, sorry. The question was whether the team that supports, the host families, is this their only job, this service, this support of the families, or they do some other work? Some other
Okay, yeah. So the two host families that are present here, they'll speak for themselves in a minute. As far as I'm aware, Sheila doesn't do any other job. Do you, Sheila?
No, I don't do anything else.
So this is her job. She doesn't do anything
now I'm
else.
Sorry if I was misunderstood. It's maybe it's my fault. Whether the teams that support the host families, whether the teams do some other job. Like if they have some other work, some other.
Oh, Thomas, this is a 24/7 service. Mm-hmm. We are very busy, but
okay. We are a crisis resolution home treatment team. Mm-hmm. So we are a referring team, and we are an alternative to an acute inpatient unit. So it's a 24-hour service. We have 28 staff, a consultant, psychiatrists, clinical psychologists, assistant psychologists, occupational health, support workers, nurses. So our role, we cover the whole of Northwest Hertfordshire. So we start from 8:30 to 9:30 during the day, then from 7:30 to 7 o'clock in the morning. So we do assess people in crisis, we respond to crisis, we facilitate also early discharge. So the host family is just a fraction of what we do.
Thank you very much. That was exactly the question. Thank you very much. And Mrs. Svobodova also is thumbs up. Thank you very much. Výborně, moc děkuji. And there is another question from Mr. Macha. He's asking whether the host family gets any information about the guest from the team before. And the same for the guest. Does he get any question before? And is their decision only based on when they meet? You know, when you have that like initial meeting, when the parties meet. And is it only based on that meeting, and will they tell to each other, or they get some information before? That's the question. Thank you.
They can't see Nosheen, I think.
No. Oh, that's okay. No, I found her. Thank you. So the question
again. Thank you.
So the question is, can you repeat that? Is it about the information to the client beforehand?
Yes. The question is whether both the family and the guest, do they get any information beforehand, or they do get information about the other side only the day when they meet, and they only get information from that meeting, you know, that initial meeting you were talking about, or do they get any information from the team beforehand?
Yeah, so 99.9% of the time it's always beforehand, because a lot of the time some of the service users have never experienced the host family. regardless of whether they're coming from the hospital or they're coming from their own home environment. They may never have experienced about the host family before. So once we've identified that this host family, this service user wants to go to the host family, the first thing we do is Nosheen sends us a weekly update of which host family is available. So we then check who's available. So depending on who's available, we then go back to the service user and say that this host family is available. And then if they're interested, we tell them a bit about the service, the host family, whether they've got a dog, what they like, because some service users smoke and some host families prefer not to have people smoke in their home. So we give them a bit of an idea of who the host family is. And then the host families, because 99.9% of the time, they're willing to support service users. We call them and say, we've got a service user, they want to come and stay with you. This is the plan. We just want you to support them for 2 weeks or whatever. And we tell them a bit about them. We don't go into details, but we say that probably, for example, they've been a bit stressed at home, there's some stresses at home, or they've been low in mood, just an idea. Because obviously if the host family is going to be supporting a service user, they need to be aware what they're looking out for. So that's pretty much before either of them meet. And then when they meet, they go in and then we give them an opportunity to talk to each other, tell them a bit about each other, you know, amongst them. And then based on that, and then it kind of flows from there.
Do you want me to answer the guest?
Yeah,
cool.
Harmeet will answer the guest.
So like being the actual example, as I was saying, so yes, when I was told the idea of host family, as I was really like thrown away, I said, what on earth is that? Because I only understand hospital, acute departments, I call all the hospital environment. Then I had a chat with somebody, came to me and sat with me and explained me like, this is the concept of host family. And they are so pretty much extension of hospitals and all that, but a very informal way. And they gave me a very quick, decent brief about the person, like that was told it's a couple who are retired and they live in Hertfordshire somewhere, and they're quite welcoming and they have been doing it for a few years, because I have thousands of questions at that time, like who are they, how can I trust them, what about my safety, what about theirs, and all those kind of questions can come in. So then I was given a decent brief, so which gave me some sort of, like I was calmed down, my anxiety was a little bit okay. Then we had a meeting, as Nancy said, 3-way meeting, which we openly discussed like what I've been through the last few months in the hospitals. So I shared my concerns and asked some questions and what I would expect, and not like demands, but just certain things if they're helpful. And then same way, they introduced themselves, they explained me how things are, what are, and it was quite relaxed. And at the same time, we had professionals sitting there to make sure it's a very informal, but still a very structured meeting. So we got a clear plan. And in the end, we were given the best thing I like. In the end, we all were given, like with no pressure, of freedom of choice, like any one of us could say no at any time. So, but lucky we all three agreed, and that's how the stay was, and the day was organized and arranged. And also during that 3-4 day gap, before actual my transfer day, I was still given option if I change my mind, if I have any further questions, and they were all answered by the team. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Tak klidně můžete pokračovat, taky se nemusíte bát to přednést přímo tu otázku, nebo jak jste teď tak. Já myslím, že jsme odpověděli panu Máchovi ve všem. Moc děkujeme za otázku. A tak, určitě ještě nějaká otázka. Já bych chtěl vlastně poprosit John, are you here? Can you hear me? Maybe not. Tak, tak ještě dávám možnost, pokud máte ještě nějakou další otázku. Nemusíte se bát, myslím, že to je opravdu zajímavé, podnětné, a máme tady vlastně různé zúčastněné strany, které mohou vždycky nabídnout trošku ten svůj pohled. Tak vypadá to, že už asi nemáme žádnou otázku. A
prosím,
ano,
můžu
děkuji.
ještě, já jsem se nepřihlásila, to uvědomila. Ještě bych se možná chtěla zeptat, jestli je nějakým způsobem omezena vlastně, jakoby, když tak řeknu, frekvence toho, kdy ten člověk třeba do té hostitelské rodiny půjde, jednou, dvakrát do roka, nebo jestli to opravdu záleží prostě na té jeho konkrétní situaci. A možná potom i ta délka třeba toho pobytu, jestli vlastně, vím, že se mluvilo o tom, že se vždycky domlouvá dopředu, ale jestli je to nějak třeba limitováno.
Jo, jasně. A potom určitě se ještě dostaneme k vám, paní Terezo de la Maria, tak to určitě ještě se zeptáme na tu otázku. So we have a question if the stay at the host family is somehow limited. You said it depends, it can be 2 days, it can be 6 weeks, or you said typically 3, 4, 6 weeks, but is it limited in the length, in total? And is there any limit for how many times the person can actually come to a host family, let's say during a year or during some years? So that's one question, and we'll have one more.
So the maximum stay in exceptional circumstances is 12 weeks. We try not to, we say 6 to 8 weeks as a maximum because there becomes a dependency factor, and that can be a little bit risky and dangerous in some ways for both parties. We had an example, which I know they've given consent to use in the past. We placed a young 18-year-old with one of our host families, was only supposed to go in for a maximum of 6 weeks. She ended up just over 12 weeks because she became homeless while she was at the host family's home. At the time, the host family could not see where the issues were arising, only due to the length of stay increasing, but we as professionals could see that this young 18-year-old was becoming extremely dependent on that host family, attended the host family's daughter's wedding, became part of everything to do with the host family's life, that when it was time to depart, she couldn't. She struggled, the host family struggled. We had to go in and make sure we make sure that person now goes off to their next place of abode. After that, a few weeks later, that same guest appeared at the host family's daughter's home and started sleeping on their couch. And that's when the host family started thinking, oh my God, now we understand what professionals or myself or the crisis teams mean when we're talking about boundaries, which are really crucial, about being in touch with host families, about over-involving them in your life. You might not, we obviously understand that there'll be a natural liking with some service users or guests and a natural liking with that host. So with some of them, they'll gel so well, they might keep contact later on, but we encourage it not in their home, perhaps a coffee shop, but also very minimum. And if something goes wrong, it is up to the host family, unless it's a mental health relapse. So that's just an example. And the host family reflected upon what we had said initially, and it really opened their eyes about the boundary aspect of things and how it's really key and important not to extend it. That's why even 12 weeks for us is actually, as a crisis service, is actually a very significantly lengthy time. But as I say, the 12 weeks is an exceptional circumstance situation. On average, 3 to 4 weeks, but we start off a placement and we say 2 weeks at the moment. I think you tell your guests 2 weeks, and it will be reviewed at the weekly review. If it needs to be extended, depending on the guest's needs, it will. And if it needs to be cut short as well, it can be cut short because perhaps the professionals feel that now this guest doesn't need a host family, they're ready to go home. Their clinical side to things are all now ready, they don't need that extra. there is that you can imagine, but we are very understanding with regards to relationship and rapport, but we've had so many examples like this that we try and avoid the 12-week factor. And yes, can somebody come back and go back to a host family? Yes, they can. Doesn't mean they go to the same host family. It depends on our availability. Harmeet said to me just the other day, if I ever need a host family, can I be placed back with Joe and Dixie, as an example? But again, it all depends at the time, who's available, and the clinical team will look at all the correct needs of that person. But we're just very pleased that Harmeet, a year on, he's been doing really well. He hasn't gone back to hospital and he's not had the need to come under the crisis team or the host family.
And also to add on, like my case is a very good example to your answer. Like, so initially when I came in and when I was discharged from the hospital to the host family, we agreed for the 2 weeks contract. But then unfortunately, I was still not ready to leave and I still need help and all that. So that's when Aya and some other person, they came in the picture, we had a discussion, we came up with the plan. So mine was extended for another 3 to 4 weeks. But then at the same time, with all the help, like people like Nancy and the OTs and all their teams and all that, we actually, in the end, I left a few days earlier. So you can see the whole kind of transition and all different aspects. First 2 weeks, then it got extended. They were very understandable, supportive. But in the end, I felt confident as my wife, and we spoke to them and I left early a few days. So that sort of flexibility, comfort, and it's really good for a person who's actually going through all that, because it's easy and different for all the professionals to talk and make and discussion, but actually working with somebody who's going through, that's a classic example. So that's really helpful.
Thank you. Do you want to add anything to that in regards to stay? Okay.
Thank you so much for fantastic insights. It's really wonderful. Now I would like to, teď bych se chtěl zeptat vás, prosím, Terezo, jestli vám můžu říkat, Terezo, jestli chcete přednést vaši otázku?
Určitě. Já bych se ráda zeptala, já jsem asi možná přeslechla odpověď ohledně té frekvence umístění. Já jsem trošku měla podobnou otázku, jestli je možný tuhletu službu pojmout i jako takovou pravidelnou odlehčovací službu v rámci nějakého udržení stabilizovaného stavu, nebo jak bych to řekla. A pak ještě jedna otázka, jestli to umísťování do hostitelských rodin je možný i pro nezletilý, nebo jestli tam nějaký omezení věkový spodní i horní hranice, případně jestli se dá umístit člověka, který má nějaký prostě akutní problém a stará se o nezletilý dítě a rád by zůstal jakoby s ním pořád, ale potřeboval by prostě poskytnout nějakou takovouhle podporu v domáckém prostředí.
Moc vám děkuji. Děkuji. So there's a question here from Teresa de la Maria. The question is whether this kind of placement can have some form of regularity, something like maybe once a year, just to ease things down. It's like one question. And the second, whether is it possible, is there any limit in terms of placement? Can a person that's let's say below 18 or below certain age be placed as well, or it has to be adult? And is it possible to have a placement for somebody who has an acute problem and also is a parent, and maybe is there a possibility of a placement of somebody with their kid or children?
Okay, Thomas, so the second question I can answer right now. Our adult age is between 18 and 65 under the crisis team, is that right? And the crisis function team, which is a similar crisis team to the adult crisis team, is 65 plus age group. And I don't think there's an end, it's just 65 plus. So anyone who's functional and able to stay with the host family, then, and depending on physical ability, that's, yeah. So starting from 18, going all the way, but we have two teams that cover different age groups. Anyone below 18, we don't place. because there's many vulnerabilities, risk factors associated with that. Your colleague's first question, we didn't understand that.
I think she means a governing body who kind of controls this facility or system, so some sort of like, like some sort of certification or something. Some sort of,
Is that right?
Government body. You mean like some sort of government body who controls this host family kind of setup and business? And
no, I don't think so. I think partially Nosheen answered. Maybe if I may have one more question to this. So when we have adult who's taking care of his son, daughter, is such a person can be placed? He's in that age. He's say 25, 35, doesn't matter. Can he be placed with his kid, for example?
Oh, okay. So, for example, can Hermit go with his adult child to a host family?
No, my young child, any child, any age, yeah.
No.
And the first part of the question was, is it possible to have something like that placement into a host family that had very positive effect? Having meet some sort of regular, maybe like once a year for a couple of weeks, like a change environment, like calm down, meet the people that you know. Do you do anything of the sort?
No, because our service is under the umbrella of the crisis teams who provide the crisis intervention as a short-term basis. I think it would be very hard to regulate that in some ways if we do that every year, if it becomes an annual let's get together. And as you can imagine, the clinical teams, I'm sure where you are as well, are extremely busy. So I think that would be quite tricky, and would have a lot of safeguarding questions, would have a lot of legal questions arising. So we just need to make sure how we would cover that. And if we did get to that point, it would cover so many governance questions, if you like. Anything else from your perspective?
Well, as an acute service, I've been with this team now for more than 15 years. I don't think we've had any service user that will want to have a respite in the host family on a regular basis. So firstly, we've not encountered that. Secondly, as an acute service, when we move people on, we'll only place people in a host family or admit them according to their needs. You see, so we've not encountered that as yet.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
It might develop dependency.
Yes. Yes. Speaking of dependency.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Děkuji moc i za otázku. Děkuji. She also says thank you very much. And there's one more question from Mr. Macha. Is it possible? Yes. Please, Sheila, if you need to leave, thank you very much for being with us. I think we will be finishing soon anyway. I think we have maybe maximum like 10 more minutes. But thank you very much.
Yeah, that's fine. Sheila's just going to leave. And sorry, earlier Charles had also just sent his apologies, so he had to leave a bit early as
Thank
well.
you very much. No problem at all.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
We have one more question here. Is it possible to have a host family of a single person, somebody who lives alone?
Yes. Most of our host families are single women. And there's only two that are couples, Joe and Dixie, who you've met, and another couple, Jackie and David. So you can be a couple, you can be single. I did have a single male apply once, but then he lost his brother, so therefore that didn't go through. But yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful.
And any backgrounds, we're open to all backgrounds, it's all inclusive. So yeah, we don't discriminate at all.
Thank you very much. Tak jo, taky děkuju, tak jsme odpověděli. A já myslím, že už pomalučku se chýlíme ke konci. Možná ještě máme prostor pro 1-2 otázky. Jestli máte ještě někdo nějakou otázku?
If I may comment to the question about kids and parents, yeah, that when I work in West Sussex Trust, we had such model. It was just a mother and baby host families, but it's a little bit different model, but it also exists. Yeah, the specialized host families for especially mothers with mental health problem, with small kids. This is not under the crisis intervention team is another scheme, but such model also exists, and we can maybe next time do the webinar of this special issue. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Johan. Děkuji, Johane. Tak. Děkuji tedy za komentář. Možná, jak říkám, ještě máme možná jednu prostor na jednu otázku. Ještě připomenu, že potom tady to potom najdete i na YouTube, tady to video, co nahráváme. A taky vám nasdílíme prezentaci, kterou jste viděli. A budete mít možná i možnost třeba přímo kontaktovat tady tým Hertfordshire. Tak. Dobře, tak jestli tady není už žádná otázka, tak se rozloučíme. Moc vám všem děkuji za účast. Děkuji. Nosheen, Dixie, Joe, Charles, everybody, Sheila, Hami, thank you very much for taking so much of your time and presenting us this fantastic concept. Thank you so much. It was, I think it was really helpful. People, I think, and it's not just what they have heard. Maybe they will obviously share it with their colleagues. We will also share some of the materials we have. Also, this video will be available for them. So, thank you so much. And I just want to thank you.
Yes, and I hope that we will stay in contact here, because I believe that we really will start such models somewhere, that we will be very happy if you could be some kind of our mentor for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. It was really so inspiring and wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Nice. I'm freezing cold.
Right.